There is a writer of note that recently wrote a very interesting book. And the name of that book was It's Different This Time. And the joke in economics is it's never different this time. It's always the same. And the man who wrote the book was a man by the name of Ken Rogoff. And what Ken said in the book, effectively, he sat down and said, let's take a look at every historical economic event for the last 200 years. And let's specifically, when we do that, we find out there are literally 142 different major economic events. But he goes a step further and he says, what about economic events that are financial meltdowns? And he found 14 international cases about that. It could be Madrid in '82 or Norway in '76, but it's an event that involved a major financial meltdown. And here's the commonalities he discovered. And it's really amazing what the statistics tell us. First, you got to get it, and you don't want to hear it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. It's a 10-year curse. You may have been thinking that. It's a 10-year curse. Take my word for it. The good news is we're sort of 4.5 years through it, which means we should be bottoming, and that's exactly what the statistics tell us. Ken Rogoff said that the average stock market in these economic melt-offs declines by 56%. I think we did 58 this time around. And the market begins recovering at year 4 in a 10-year cycle. The residential real estate market, nothing new to international economic history. The average decline in a housing price is 35%. And of that 35%, we probably have another 5% to go. By the way, the bottom in the housing trough, 5 years out. Interesting statistic, they said 85% of the time the governments involved used deficit spending, or what they prefer to call stimulative spending. And what's fascinating is after 3 years, despite most of these countries trying to do stimulative spending to get their economy back on track, 3 years after that money was spent, you can't find any sign of it being spent. In other words, it was essentially wasted. Rogoff takes us into the world of unemployment. Says the bottom in unemployment occurs at year 5. And average unemployment goes up 7%. Now, we went up 7% from 5% to 12%, and that's relatively accurate. I know the president's very proud of the fact that, did you hear that the unemployment rate dropped to 8.5%? You heard that last week? Do you know why it's at 8.5%? I mean, I love economists, and I love bureaucrats, and I love the way they think and talk about things. The way the federal government counts you unemployed is if you're looking for work. So if you're not looking for work, you're not unemployed. Got it? And there's a whole bunch of people out there that have been looking and looking, and they finally quit. I'm going to tell you that the real unemployment rate in this country is probably closer to 12% right now. Some of that is from direct sources that you would think of, and the other part of it is just the nature of the statisticians telling us what's going on. So my next point to you is simply this. Unemployment, Wall Street, housing, they're all getting ready for a long, slow road